get this all zoomed in and brightened up and whew, all right. Guess I'm looking okay. As okay can be. Hello everyone. I am Teresa McCalman. I am running in New York State, 49th Senate District. I'm running to be your next representative here in the 49th. And I just want to give you, all of you out there, I'll take this off because it's reflection in my glasses so I can see you and you can see me. Give you all an update on the campaign, where we're at, and what is going on in the world of COVID and everything. I'll be looking off camera just a little bit just to make sure that I stay on point, I don't go on a tangent, and that I give you all facts and not my opinion. A few of you may or may not know me. I'll just give you a brief history of who I am and what I do for a living. So last year, many of you, I should say, know that I ran for mayor here in the city of Schenectady. I ran to unseat 8-year incumbent Gary McCarthy, and I only lost by a little over 100 votes. It was great. I really, all my life I've always worked to be an activist and also to support my community any way possible. And I felt that that was as close to the community and being able to help them that I could at that moment. A fellow assembly member, one of my representatives, said to me that, Teresa, I think that the problems that you're talking about is more on a federal level, on a funding level, and made me rethink my approach to actually trying to vigorously help my community. And that's when I, pivoted and re-evaluated everything with my team and said that I think running for Senate would be better, and I would be able to really effectively help all those who are underfunded in my community. Currently, what I do for employment, or used to do for employment, because right now, like with everyone else, I am unemployed. I am a teacher. I'm an educator. I work with the Board of Cooperative Education Services, that's BOCES. And because I, work in a classroom due to the COVID outbreak, my classes were shut down. I teach adult ed. I teach all subjects. My degrees are in history and education, but I teach all subjects. And I teach those who are returning to obtain their high school diploma. Right now, BOCES is trying to reorganize and get us teachers back in play for our adult students. That kind of leads me to the COVID updates, but I want to pause on that real quick. I just want to let everyone know that going forward, and I think most of you have seen this with a lot of other candidates who are running, and also with everyone else, who's a public figure, that this campaign will be going virtual with all of our town halls, obviously, right? And we'll also give you as up-to-date updates as possible on the COVID-19 and everything that has to do with not only New York State, but more specifically with the 49th Senate District. My team and I, for the last few days, have been working hard to get as much factual information together as possible to let you guys know all over the district what's happening in your neck of the district, in your portion of the district. So Saratoga, up in Fulton County, Schenectady, Herkimer, everyone. So all over the district, all 5 portions of it. So every day, as much as possible, at least once. I don't want to bore you with my face. But as much as possible, we'll be on here and giving you updates and also trying to give you encouragement. I'm more of an introvert, so I've been checking in on all my extroverted friends, and actually they've been calling me a lot and trying to figure out how to do this. They're stressed. I know a lot of us are stressed. A lot of us are anxious. So I'm going to try to be as informative and to the point as possible. My staff will be monitoring all the emails. I'll try to keep up on as many text messages as possible. Everyone pretty much has my number, but try to email, because not only am I getting messages from my students, I'll be getting text messages from you as well, but try to email us as possible. All my staff will be on hand as much as possible to answer any of your concerns, any questions, any resources that you're not sure how to reach or whatever, anything. And no question is dumb, no question is stupid. I tell my students, all questions are valid questions. No matter what you think, all questions are valid questions. Okay, so let's get to this COVID-19 update. I'm going to go off some of the things that the governor said during his announcement this morning. If you didn't see it, some of this may sound familiar, but I'm going to try to break it down to as much as possible to what's relevant to us. Okay, so my first point. Okay. So there's a curve, and everyone's been talking about this. Flatten the curve, and in order to do that, we all need to practice social distancing. At this time, we're all on lockdown or pause, and we're all told to stay in our homes as much as possible. Only go out if it's absolutely necessary. That means going food shopping, or if there's an emergency, or if you are part of the essential workforce that like emergency services, health services, transportation, things like that. The governor is saying that because of our increased testing, we have, of course, a higher number of positives and newer cases in comparison to the entire United States. But that's because our testing numbers are higher. And he says that we need at least 110,000 hospital beds. He said something very important as well. He said that because we have an increased capacity in our hospitals, we are increasing the bed capacity in our hospitals, we need to also increase our staffing capacity. Staff and bed ratio needs to be level. And I thought that was kind of coincidental because, or as I like to say, coincidental. But in February, I think it was towards the end of February, I was out in front of Ellis Hospital in Schenectady on Knott Street in the freezing cold with all of my fellow nurses demanding safe staffing in all of our hospitals. I did nursing long time ago, and I can recall us even then in the 90s-ish, I won't tell you when, but I can recall us having 25 to 50 beds and not very many nurses or nurses' aides or even LPNs at that time. We did not have enough staff, and we had to run around like with our heads cut off, and like chickens with our head cut off, and to make sure that we were giving safe care at the same time as speedy care, which is not always, well, it's not safe, period. So when he said that we need to increase our staffing capacity, I thought of all of those retired nurses, and immediately he said, our retired nurses, please, or our retired hospital medical staff, please, we need you to step up. And I do implore you, please do step up and please help out. I've watched some videos, some really heartbreaking videos on the internet, which I probably shouldn't, but and the need is dire. Also, with emergency management rules, so the governor, thank God, has done what he needs to do on the state level. But according to him, we cannot manage our funding or manage this emergency as on our own. We've gotten to that point where we just can't, and we need as much help as we can from the federal government. He also stated in his announcement that because of where we're at, he implored our current president to, funny I could barely say that, but our current president to help with turning SUNY Stony Brook, SUNY Westbury, Jacob Javits Center, and Westchester County Center into hospitals. So that did happen, as much as I understand from his announcement, and we have an increase of at least 1,000 beds, which is great. And also we need ventilators and masks. I know that there is an awesome movement going on in Schenectady and Saratoga, and I think other parts of the county, where people are sewing masks. One of my team members actually asked us, "Can anyone sew?" I think that was Heather. Hi, Heather, I see you. She goes, can anyone sew? And I said, I can sew, but not fast enough to meet the needs. And I totally cannot deal with the sewing machine. I tried, and it just doesn't work. But please, if you can help with donating ventilators, and I'm speaking to those medical professionals out there, please do. I know a few celebrities, sorry, I'm working from home, so I have children in the background. But I know a few celebrities are definitely working on donating, or who have already donated. I think the last person I saw was Rihanna. She donated at least $1 million worth of ventilators. I don't know what that breaks down to, how many ventilators that would be, but thank you for that. And because of the need for personal protective equipment, I'm sure you guys have heard this terminology, PPE, going around. That's personal protective equipment. That means sometimes, especially in ICU or in isolation situations, we have to practice universal precautions, which means, you know, you see those in the movies. You see people with those white things, gowns, and they just look like spacesuits, paper spacesuits, something like that. And also just something as simple as just the robes and stuff to cover our actual uniforms, and masks, of course, masks and gloves, things like that. It can be as severe as needing those spacesuit looking things to just having gowns, gloves, and masks. Masks, of course, are very essential right now. And because of this, I know things have been thrown around about asking certain manufacturers or businesses that manufacture other things to actually start manufacturing things. And I think Elon Musk was one of those popular, famous people who have said that instead of producing his Teslas, that he's actually going to start producing ventilators, which is great. But in order for us to reach the capacity that all states need, because we're all vying for these things, right? The governor is pleading for the president to do the to put forward the Defense Production Act. This is something that has been enacted before in World War II, where the factories that had been closed down were now asked to start producing bombs and things like that. But of course, that's not what we need right now. But what we need are ventilators and personal protective equipment, or PPEs. And I'm hoping that because we actually have, that he actually listened to our request to help with increasing bed capacity, that he actually listens to the governor in this aspect of putting forward the Defense Production Act. Also, I think as I was listening, I was re-listening to him just before I started to broadcast, and he mentioned the major disaster declaration, which the president just recently enacted as well. And it especially in Schenectady, we're used to this, right? During the spring, right after a heavy winter, all that snow melts and it starts to flood our historic district down in the Stockade. And we recently, through the hurricanes that we had here a few years ago, Irene and Sandy, we also had some of those disaster declarations. And because of that, we were able to receive funding from FEMA. But when that happens, FEMA usually covers a larger portion of that funding, like 75%, actually 75%. But then the state covers 25%. But because we're at such a large disaster, it's obviously worldwide, it's pandemic. We can't, because we are at capacity for everything, and that's why we're asking for help from the federal government. So he pleaded with the president, and now what's happened is that FEMA will be covering all that disaster relief 100%, and that leaves us unburdened with the 25% that would, which is great, right? Oh, thank you, big brother. I see my brother Walter. Thank you. If anyone has questions, please, I'm trying my best to keep track of the comments. Do post some comments before I end this live, and I can answer as much as possible right now. If not, like I said, please email us at teresaforsenate@gmail.com, and all that stuff will be posted, of course, for you. But like I said, going back to the major disaster declaration, trying not to touch my face. It's so hard, but I did just use hand sanitizer. New York State will receive 100% of FEMA funding under this declaration. Now, the governor also mentioned a plan to pivot back to economic functionality. And I know he had so much to say, and some of it is still the same, but obviously some things changed during the day. But I think with this, the economic thing is like the big thing that we're all worried about. We are worried about making sure that our hospitals are well-staffed and well-funded so that they can have those PPEs and ventilators readily available. That is very important. But the people who are also affected, those ones who are in self-quarantine or who have been quarantined, those of us who have been told to stay home, we're non-essentials, we're not working, like myself. We can't go to work. That means we cannot pay bills. That means that we cannot pay rent, or we cannot pay our mortgages, or we only have about 3 months worth of savings, because that's what we're told to, right? To save 3 months. And then after 3 months, what are we going to do? And the governor is saying that this may go on for 6 months, 9 months. And in a pandemic, it usually, I'm not even going to say that number, but for the most part, yes, these things do last long. So after 3 months, or even now, for those of us living paycheck to paycheck, how are we supposed to survive? So the governor kind of just went past that, and I understand why, because we're waiting for our federal government to actually stop playing politics and worry about the people and pass some type of economic relief plan. But he does have something waiting in the wings to actually pivot back to that economic functionality, and those are his words. And he said, we're going from pause, P-A-U-S-E, all capital, to New York forward. So we want to try our best to restart the economy with a public health strategy included in that. I think this is a big idea, and just understanding all those logistics of how to do that. Again, as a state, we're not going to be able to do it alone. We are going to still be leaning heavily on the government. And we really, everyone, please, we really need to reach out to our representatives there in Washington and make sure that they hear that we need them to get on the ball. I posted earlier that Canada is doing everything. I don't agree with all the stuff that they posted, but they're doing something. They've been doing something since March 14th. Yeah, where we're at? March 23rd. And we still do not have a safety net or something to cushion us from this full blow economically. Everyone is waiting for the government to do something. Everyone's being affected, whether physically or financially. We are all in the same boat. And we need our government to do something. We need our current leaders to be here and say to us what they're doing to help. What are you doing? What's going on? We need updates. Why do we only see Sanders and Cuomo? Just saying. I'm going off on a tangent. Sorry, I do these things. Okay, let me go back to my notes. All right. So he talks about getting 100% expansion in the capacity of the hospitals. I think we're almost at that. And a warning. I know this may spike some people's anxiety. It did mine, and especially my daughter. But we have to recognize and understand that 40 to 80% of the population will get COVID-19. But I wrote something down that re-listening to him again a few minutes ago, he says that many will get the virus, but few will be truly endangered. I'm trying to take what I can from that, but 40 to 80% is a large number, but in comparison with the world, I think we can get through this. It's not going to be as bad as our anxiety is making it out to be. Okay. Fingers to toes and prayers. Okay. So I want to speak about voting because that impacts us all, especially me. I'm running. Hello. They mentioned that they're looking whether their executive authority will allow them to change the voting rules. Specifically, there's a section in it when you're applying for absentee ballots. It says that you have to be deemed unable to get to the polls. That unable actually for us does not apply, even though it does, right? It totally applies now. But what it means is if you're out of county, right? So all of us are in county. Obviously, we're on lockdown and we're locked into place. And, well, not locked into place, but we're on pause. And they're trying to make sure that they change that language to so that we can actually all receive absentee ballots. And that's pretty much, it's not a lot. I was hoping to hear a lot more. Every single day I'm listening, hoping to hear more about this. And as you know, they reduced our number of petition signatures that we needed. Great. And we're on the ballot, just in case anyone was questioning. We are definitely on the ballot. And we're just waiting to see what will happen going forward. Let me see if I have ticked off. They need to get on the ball. Yes, well said. Oh, thank you, Melaine. Hi, what did you just mumble about not agreeing with? Oh, who's that? Janine? Oh, I was saying that all of the lists, there's a long list of everything that Canada had, of everything that they were doing to help their population economic-wise. And I don't fully understand all of their politics and their economy. But when I was reading it, in reference to the United States, I didn't agree that some of that stuff would help us. So as I was saying, is that look what Canada did, why aren't we doing it? And some people may take that as, we should do the same thing as Canada. So I want to make that clear that some of the things Canada does or is doing will not be applicable to us, if that clears things up for you, Janine. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm sorry if I did not. And I think, let me see. Oh, and some final numbers. We are at a little over 20,000 statewide on our total positive cases, almost 21,000, like 20,875, and 5,000 plus new cases, and at 157 deaths. Just in case you didn't get those numbers. Again, the governor says many will get the virus, but few will be endangered. And I know that they are looking to actually test blood for antigens to see who has developed natural antibodies to this, and use that as a antiviral thing. So, and a friend of mine, Patrick Nelson, and I can see him watching. Thank you, Patrick, for posting the website. I messaged him. I'm a bit of a science nerd sometimes and a chemist. I said, hey, bio major, why are they using this medicine? Is this really the smart thing to do? And he kind of said, well, if you look at it, it seems to be the best option. So I'm not a biochemist. I do teach science. I love it. I love biology. I love chemistry. But fingers and toes on our trials. And I really hope that this medicine really does help. And let me see what else I have. I think those are all my bullet points. I had so many. Oopsie doopsie. Let me go and make sure. And also, because there's so much information coming out every day, almost every second of the day, my awesome team has put together everything that I sent them and some things they sent me. I'm like, this is great. Let's post this. This is great. So instead of posting 50 million times a day some COVID-19 update, we have formed a page on our website that will be updated daily. So on the page, if you look on the page, which some of you probably can't do at this moment because you're watching me, but at the top of our page, it says latest updates for New York. So that's all of New York State, and that's mostly anything and everything that comes from the WHO, CDC, and anything that the governor has posted on his page. And also right below that, we have formed the latest updates for our district. So anything that Boston Spa, the town of Boston, Clifton Park, the town of Galway, anything Saratoga, Schenectady, anything that they put out in regards to this. So that's anything and everything. Employment, what's being closed, which we all pretty much have a great idea of what that is. Anything that is happening in your neck of the district, we have tried to put everything in one place so you can go and click on it and find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. And what is, I wish you were running in my district. Janine, where's your district? We don't have, I will say this, we do not have every city in the district because not every city has posted an update. Just know that. It's not that we are just posting specific portions of the district and that they may be more important than the others. That's not true. We have been working every day to get as much of the information from every end of our district as possible to get it to you in one spot. So you're not searching all over the internet or being misinformed by well-intended people, intentioned people. And at the bottom, of course, we also have resources. So we have a link to the Center for Disease Control, the New York State Department of Labor. And I just want to say something about that because I had to apply for unemployment last week, and the wait times are extremely long. I waited, I think, an hour and a half on the phone, and then I got this poor woman who sounded like she was extremely sick and still at work. She's very miserable, but she handled my claim, very quickly, And excuse me. I think so. Hold a second for something, for some reason my Twitter stopped. But please be patient. Everyone is doing the same thing because we're all in the same situation at the same time. Also, I know that some internet services, and I think we had that posted on the Facebook, and maybe we can get that up on resources. Some internet providers, we did some research, especially out in the country, in the boondocks, all the way out in Hamilton County and all the way out in Herkimer. We looked to see what internet service providers that you have there. And I'm trying not to touch my face, but that's not happening. And not all of them are providing that updated, upgraded, faster internet service. Spectrum is I think one of the ones that are doing the best. And then even then, I tried calling them, and it wasn't even a long wait time. I got the message, "We know you've been waiting a very long time. Call back later on in the week." I got that message twice, 2 days in a row. So I decided not to mess with it and leave a line open for someone else and try again later. So, like I said, please go to our website, teresaforsenate.com. The heading for the portion of the website with the COVID-19 says COVID-19 or COVID, I'm sure it's COVID-19. And any questions you have, please, teresaforsenate@gmail.com. All the links will be there. And please stay healthy, stay safe, stay calm, and check in on your extroverted friends. Okay. Thanks, everyone.